Alright, I'm Peter Davies. I was brought up in Malabir, but I went to the Coronation School. I was born in 1928, a long time ago, and my dad decided I had to go to Coronation School. I went about 5 or 6 years in Malabir School, but Dad decided that was no good, so I had to go to Coronation. I started in the Coronation the same week as the war started. I was baptized for you.
Yes.
And the first couple of months of the war, they were not prepared, not for anything.
No.
If the siren went, the boys from the country was put down into the boiler room. The boys from the town was all sent home. And then after a couple of months we was told then we had to pick a partner from the town to go home with.
Oh.
And I had to go up to 89 High Street. And boy Stevenson, I can't remember, Staffer we used to call him. The Baskervilles lived at 91 High Street, and Jack Baskerville was a area warden, and he was killed in a bomb. I think it was at Imble Lane, because there was a ARP post at Imble Lane. And Arthur Cabana, now he was the same age as me, he was a messenger for the ARP. And he was killed. He rode into a bomb on his bike. He was 12. And that seemed to hit us a lot, you know, one of your schoolmates being killed. Anyway, as I say, after about a couple of months, we had to go home with one from the town. They had to spread us all out, see, but in case, because every night the bombers was coming over, and there was water tanks in the street. Water tanks about 20 foot long by about 10 foot wide and 6 foot high.
Like a Bowser school then.
They filled them with water ready for the bombs, and of course they stuck one right at school, outside the school gates. Well, I mean, that was a swimming pool for the kids, wasn't it? It was too much.
It was too handy, wasn't it? Very handy.
We was told not to touch them, but there was metal stripes right across, strengtheners across the tank, you know. You can't walk across that, you know, and of course one boy fell in. So they had to cover the tanks then with wire netting. Anyway, why did they put it right outside the school? They put it in Merrick Street because it was a wide street. And it was good. There were 400 boys there, all boys, no girls.
No girls.
No. And we never had a playing field. Our playing field was up Britannia, right up the top, the Red Rose there. And we had an allotment up there as well. So we had to walk,
school allotment there.
we had to walk up there if we wanted to do a bit of gardening or anything, or play football. So there's one thing always intrigues me. See, I've been talking to John Brock out and he was in the grammar school over by Argyle Street, you know. Now his school was closed, and he finished his schooling in Moncton. But they never closed ours, and ours was right in the middle of the town.
Strange.
Was, wasn't it? I thought so anyway, but there you are. Anyway, we was doing PT one day in the playground at the back of the school, 30 of us, with Pete Bowen, our PT teacher. He was a character, Pete. He was a pilot in the First World War, and he had a plate in his head. And a lot of the boys used to annoy him, you know. Well, you couldn't help it, but there you are. Anyway, we was doing this PT, and we was all facing eastwards, and we could see a plane very high. You could hardly hear it, flying from west to east. Sun, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sun glistening on it now. Kept watching it, and then you could see bombs dropping from it. you know, Pete Bowen said, lie on you know, lie flat. I got to choose my words a bit, don't I? And that's what we done, but they dropped at Ferry Lane, they bombed. And it was said afterwards as they was trying to bomb that railway bridge, because everything went into the dockyard, that tanks, everything went in.
That's right.
The dockyard in them days, see? But they missed the railway bridge. I think they killed a horse.
Oh.
And there were no houses there, see?
No.
No.
Well, that entrance didn't go all the way up then, did it?
No.
It was nearly a short roadway then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, Frank Harris, he reckoned he was at the tunnel, the railway tunnel in the Bush Woods. Not Bush Woods, where the railway tunnel goes through.
Yeah, on top of below Buttermilk Close, isn't it?
He was there when the bomb was dropped, oh no, that was when they bombed the tanks. But there was no preparation at all. I mean, we wouldn't have been doing PT if there had been a siren.
No.
No way. So we used, well, I mean, there was bombs dropping every night, and some of the people from Pembroke Dock used to go out Freshwater East, Caselli, and especially if they had relations out there, that's where they'd go at night, you know. And some of them would sleep in the fields out by Ferry Lane. Billy Morgan, he lived in Lewis Street. He lives on the Lower Lampy Road now. He was a schoolmate. They used to go out and sleep in the fields in the summer. It was a good summer, a nice summer, 1940. But yeah, anyway, that we got over that, and there was a bomb dropped in Law Street and killed Alec Mackenzie and his brother and his mother. And their father was away in the Navy, and he only got home in time for the funeral. And he came home and he went straight to the funeral. And after the funeral, he thought he'd go up and have a look at the house. He found his wife dead in the house. They don't know to this day who they buried. And that was in the Pembrokeshire Life not so long ago as well. So,
Wow, how do you get your head around that, like?
yeah. But why, I mean, they must have searched the house when, why did they miss her? And what a shock for her husband.
Oh.
He thought he'd have buried her, and then go find her in the...
And then go through the whole process again, Peter.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bet what is his wife?
Yeah. Alec Mackenzie was he was older than me, he was about 18. He was just about to go in the Navy himself, but he was killed. And then the school holidays in August 1940, I used to go down on the bike to Herbert. Herbert was my mate in school, Herbert Hughes. And he lived at 22 Norgan's Terrace in Pembroke. And I used to go, we could go anywhere on the bike. I said that for, in them days you could go anywhere on your bike, and then there was troops everywhere, but you was quite safe.
Safe, yeah.
More different to today, isn't it?
I used to play in the woods. You wouldn't let the kids play in the woods
No,
now, would you?
no.
And they say you used to do a lot in the woods.
Yeah.
That you just don't let
But
the kids
there was Yanks at Lampy Station, there was troops in Pembroke Dock, Marines in Sanders-Foot.
It was Belgium in Tenby, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was, but we was quite safe. I thought we was quite safe anyway, but well, the dad thought so, I don't know. But anyway, Herbert lived at Norgan's Terrace, and I went down on the bike in a school holiday in 1940, and Herbert had made a truck out of prong wheels, and we was testing it on Norgan's Hill. You know what Norgan's Hill is? No brakes. And suddenly, oh, bloody noise, the German dive bomber. He dived at the tanks and bomb the tanks. And the noise he made before he dropped the bomb was enough to scare you. And, well, all hell was let loose then. And there was no siren. But they burned for about 3 weeks, didn't they, the tanks. It was terrible. Yeah, but...
Could you smell that in the air out with you?
Oh, when the wind, yeah, the wind in the right direction. Mother couldn't put her clothes out.
No.
You know, on the line. They're covered in soot. Yeah. And, yeah. But there was, you know, there was planes at Cairo Airfield. There was 80 planes at Cairo, see? And they were flying all the time. And for a kid of my age, the aeroplanes flying, I mean, I was wanting to join the Air Force. We was all in school wanting to be Spitfire pilots. But we never made it, but there you are. Yeah, but war, you know, we should remember it, we should never celebrate it. It's a terrible thing.
It is.
Yeah, but anything else? Oh, we had a prisoner of war staying, working on the land, Italian prisoner of war, Sergio Beniti. And, well, I was 13, 14 then, you know, 1946. I was 18, wasn't I? 18. And I used to annoy her, Sergio. And I used to ask him about foreign stamps, because I was saving foreign stamps when I just go. And I kept on to him about these foreign stamps. And he wrote to me when he went home in 1946. And the letters out at Cairo, I framed them, the letters. And he said that he arrived home in Italy and all the fruit was all in lovely, but the country was in ruins. And then he says he couldn't go home because he wasn't from Italy, he was from Tripoli, Italian Empire, wasn't it? But he couldn't go home, and I wrote back to him, and he wrote again. And anyway, he sent me some stamps, and they're not worth a lot, you know, but yeah. But he was true to his word. But Father used to annoy him, say, you know, fancy Mussolini joining up with Hitler, Father said to him. But he didn't want a war in this land, this Sergio. He was glad to be out of it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Anything else?
Carry on, Peter, if you want to tell us a bit more, you carry on.
Yeah, I was in bed one morning, it was January 19, I heard shooting when, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning at West Hill, and Father, at the bottom of the stairs, get up, they're bombing. So I put some clothes on as quick as I could. I got up and I looked outside around the door, and there was a German plane coming right towards me. They'd tried to bomb Pembroke camp. And that's the only time they ever tried to bomb it, because they knew, as it was armed with, and you could see the tracer shells going after the plane, you know, red. And I thought it was coming for the house, but he went over the top. I didn't know what happened to him after.
You would think he's after you, wouldn't you?
Huh?
Yeah.
You would think he's after you.
Yeah, well, you know.
But growing up with all that, and you see the plane coming towards your house, you think,
Well,
oh, he's definitely after
He
me.
looked like he was coming straight towards the house. And I aren't certain, but I'm very sure there was a bit of smoke coming from him. But I never heard any more. I made inquiries down at Cairo and all, but never heard any more about him. So, I mean, he could have went out into the sea, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Because you never know what he's out there.
No. Do you used to keep shot? shrapnel. Did you just collect that bit?
No, I didn't.
You didn't
No,
do that?
I didn't. Didn't see much point in collecting that, to be
No.
honest with you. I mean, John Brock used to collect the tail fins of the incendiary bombs, you know, and swap them, you reckon. But I don't know. I know there was one raid on Pembroke Dock, and that's all they dropped, incendiary bombs. Well, that was the tanks of water was put in the street for, I suppose.
Yeah, but apparently they put water on them, you put a sandbag, don't they?
Yeah, but
To smother it, but not as I was out, but I wasn't there.
no, but yeah, but you know, as I say, Father knew all about war, but I was green. It was all excitement, you know.
Yes.
You're a kid, all these planes flying around.
And how come you went, was it a school in Tenby then? But you come here, didn't you go the other way? It would have been close to going to Tenby, wouldn't it, than coming back to the dock? There must have been a school in Tenby,
Well, there was a
wasn't
school in Tenby, but I don't know, the father decided I had to go to Coronation, so. But, there were some good times and some bad times, but I know on a Friday, on weekdays I'd carry sandwiches to school. On a Friday I was allowed to go down and have a plate of chips. Frank Moran's in Merritt Street. 5p, well a shilling it was, because it was on a plate.
Posh.
Yeah. But nothing in Woolworths over sixpence. Tuppence and sixpence. It's hard to believe now, isn't it?
This is really...
And yet some of the boys, I won't mention names, would go to the Woolworths and pinch stuff. Pinch stuff and swap it. But, oh, it's a different world now, isn't it? No.
Did you just go down to the airfield in Cairo?
I'd go down, yeah, we weren't allowed on it, but I'd go down and we'd watch the planes taking off. And then there was a farmer lived at Red Down, and he had a lot of zinc sheds there, and if the siren went or he heard the siren, he used to bolt over to West Hill with his wife and John, his son. And I always remember that. He turned up one night with 2 left boots on. But he'd have put them on in a bit of a hurry, I think. But there. Yeah, but I mean, Cairo was bombed 5 times during the war, but some of those bombers, they just wanted to get rid of their bombs, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
Get back to their bombs and get home.
Yeah.
Because they dropped bombs at Jordiston, well, by St. Florence, you know.
Yes.
You go down the Cool Lane, now you know what the Cool Lane is.
Yes, yeah.
Well, you go down the Cool Lane and that crossroads where you turn to St. Florence, a bomb dropped right on the crossroads there. And bombs at each side of Jordiston House.
I got a little note here. Sunderland drop sweets on Barrack Hill.
Yeah.
Will you tell us about that, Peter, please?
Yeah, that was, I heard certain when, but it was a sort of air day in Pembroke Dock. And me and a mate from next door to me, Bill Howells, we went down on the train to this air day. And because I was in school there, I suppose I knew my way around. And we had a good day down there. And they did. They dropped sweets on Barrack Hill, Sunderland.
Strange thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. I never had it though.
You're still waiting, Peter.
Couldn't find him.
But the funny part of it was, we was a bit late to get in back. We were supposed to be out back at Pembroke Dock station at 8:15 for the train. And we was a bit late getting back there, and when we got there was a train in the station, you know. So of course we jumped on. Now that was a special train, we didn't know that. But we jumped on, and she never stopped till she got to Whitland.
That's a bit up to your way, Peter.
So We had to wait in Whittle then to come back on the 10:30. You always remember that. And mind me, wasn't the only one. There was a woman on there as well. She'd got on the wrong train as well. So.
When there was POWs on the airfield, or around the airfield, did you see any of them, the Italians? Apart
No, the one that used to come to our place was stationed in Portfield in Arthur West.
Ah,
Yeah,
that would be a test.
because he, you know, the letters he wrote one before he left, and it was Portfield, Arthur West. Yeah. And they used to deliver them around the farms.
I'll just leave them then.
Yeah. Well, Mary, now, my sister, she was a land girl. And she was billeted at Barnhill, on the top of the Barnhill. And there was 28 land girls there. And I was allowed to go over on a Wednesday night to watch films. A fella from the Ernie Reese, was it, from the dock, used to come out and show films. That was good. Yeah. Because Mary was billeted there. And Mary was sent to Milford in 1944 to drive a Fordson tractor to pull flax. And her and John Aber Rossiter used to be on the flax machine, and Mary driving the tractor. Yeah. And then Mary got married. She married Desi Thomas from Temby. And he was in the Air Force. He was an engineer on Lancasters. He'd done 33 flights over Germany. But he survived. And he never talked about it though.
Never told me.
But he was with the Australian crew. And he passed away last year, Desi did. But he went out to Australia a couple of times to see the crew as he was playing with. But he wouldn't talk much about it. I tried to get him down to the tower, but no, he wasn't interested. He donated a helmet, I think, down there, things like that, but he wasn't interested in going down.
Can you tell us a bit about the tower?
Well,
Because you've been there a long time, every day.
yes, I've been there for 12 years, I think. I wasn't there at the start.
Well, it wasn't much more after they started.
Hmm?
It wasn't long after they started.
No.
After it
No.
was built up good.
I wasn't there for the hacking off of the line.
No,
I'm glad I wasn't there for
I'm
that.
glad I wasn't there for that.
No, it's good down there. I mean, there's a good crowd there at the tower. And, well, the work they've done there, I think, is marvellous. Because it was in a bit of a state, you know, let's face it. Because Philip Davies was going to bulldoze it. And he went to the Cairo Community Council, asked them was they willing to take it on, and they took it on.
That's it. My first school,
But I
there
mean,
was no paths there then.
Pardon?
Whenever I joined you, there was no paths there around it.
No.
Or go into it.
No.
No, and the square at the back wasn't done.
No.
And I say we've done all of that on the path, and then of course the shelter.
Yeah.
That's good. The shelter is really good. Now we done both ends are really
Yeah, well,
good.
that firm that done the bypass there brought the shelter in for us.
That's right.
We had to erect it, but I mean, we erected it above the ground. It's supposed to be 4 foot down in the ground, but we erected it above the ground for the disabled.
Yeah.
And it's good. The kids enjoyed it. Going in there. Yeah.
And John gets up to sing, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell him about the hand grenade that John was given.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
Yeah. John, when they was doing the bypass, they dug up a hand grenade and they gave it to John, and he thought, oh, it's all right. But then the police had turned up, and then the bomb squad turned up. But it's there. It was harmless, but you know, you don't know these things.
No, they had to tip all the stuff out, didn't they?
Huh?
They took the top off and took the stuff out and give it back to him.
Yeah, yeah.
We carried it down in one of the build his lorry, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he had it in his hand all the way down to Kira, like.
Yeah, you'd have thought he'd have known better because he'd have been in the army. But, oh, yeah, but the planes that used to fly around there, the Ansons, I always thought the Ansons seemed to be labouring, but they were very reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Oxford trainers was there, and they were a far sleeker plane flying, and about 10 years ago, 2 men came to where I live because this Blenheim crashed on the Ridgeway in 1941, not far from where I live, and they came and they said, it was on a Sunday, it was about 10 years ago, we've come about the plane crash in 1941. And one of them said, my dad lost his life there when I was 3 years old. And that was Jim Lammerton. He was observer on the Blenheim. And McCaffrey was the pilot, he was a New Zealander, but Lammerton was from Cornwall. And I took him down, I took him and showed him where the plane crashed. Took him down to the tower, and there was a photograph of his dad on the wall. Well, you know, there was tears, because they come over on spec, they didn't even know it was being restored.
His name's on the blackboard, is it?
His photo's on the...
Yeah, his name's on the blackboard with the names and all, where they went out and come back.
It's in that book. Yeah. Yeah, and I got his phone number on somewhere, Jim Lammerton, but he's well, he was 10 years ago, retired police officer in Cornwall. Yeah. Yeah.
That's enough, Pete. Check that.
Yeah.
I'll go with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.